Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with the bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica. I was just trying to show off my shirt, but then it got awkward.
Yeah. So it's that time again. It's time for us to do our 1-minute book recs. This is where we go over all the books that we read in the past week with 1-minute synopsises for each book. So, Mandy, you ready to do that?
I am. I'm ready.
Okay.
Welcome to November.
I know. There's like 2 months left out of the year. It's shocking.
All right, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and then you're going to want to look down in the description of the video. We have a Google form there, and that's how we're going to do our next giveaway, which is going to be the $10 Amazon gift card. So you can get a book off of your wish list or help you towards a book on your wish list, depending on what type of books you want. Anyway, free book, right? Book math. And if you get one for free, you can get another one.
That's how it works.
Anyway, so we have a form, and we just want, what we're going to ask you to do is just to let us know what tropes you want to see us do videos for. Any type of video recommendations you have, as we're kind of looking into next year already, which is crazy.
Oh.
But let us know, what kind of videos do you want to see us doing? So you just fill that form out, and we'll pick one lucky winner We'll close this November 15th. So then that following 1-minute book recs will have one lucky winner who will win that Amazon gift card.
Okay. Now that we got all that out of the way, tell me about your reading week.
My reading week was kind of all over the place. I didn't have like any real duds or anything, but I had some good ones, and then I had some really good ones. But I read 8 books. How about you?
Is that including the one that we read together this week?
No.
Okay. So I read 7 books. This was like a crazy, crazy week. That doesn't include the one we read together. So I have 6 to talk about. Like, coming home from this trip, it was hard to get back into reading, and there was just a lot going on. You had a lot. I had a lot. It was a crazy week. So,
yeah.
You know.
Okay, so my first book was on my TBR. So yay for me, but this was like last month's TBR.
Oh, okay.
Back in
but
October.
Still.
Oh, so far ago. So I think it was. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe it was the TBR before that. I don't know. Anyway, so the book is called Deflected Hearts by Callie Melly, I think. So, sorry. Okay. This is attractive. Okay. So this is about Poppy and August. Poppy and August had been seeing each other, and then Poppy just kind of vanished out of his life, and he didn't really know why. They were just kind of like a fling type situation, but he like tried to find her, and she was just gone. And so he decides to go on a date with this other woman, and they go to a restaurant out of town. I can't remember if she lived out of town or why, but they're out of town at this restaurant, and the waitress happens to be Poppy. And Poppy is pretty pregnant. So August does some quick math in his head and begins to wonder if perhaps that baby might be his. So he confronts her, and she confesses it is his baby. And so from there, we kind of have the story. But yeah, I rated it a 3. I thought it was gonna be like a little more dramatic or angsty, and he was like very much like, she was the one. I don't like it when the woman like shuts the guy out on purpose, and so that just kind of bugged me, and I didn't really feel like she had a good reason.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was 3. I liked it. It wasn't, for somebody else, they might love that just particular part of that trope I don't like.
Okay. All right. Well, my next book is a Christmas novella. That's what it's marketed as, but it's interesting. So let's talk about that. So this book is Stranded by Selena Winters. This is about Ivy. Ivy and her longtime boyfriend, I think they've been together for like 3 years, are scheduled to fly to Alaska for a trip. They're both very wealthy. They have a private jet. They're flying to Alaska. They've rented a cabin. several months ago, and they're going to go away. Well, he doesn't pick her up from yoga, so she ends up, walking her own little bit home, and she opens the door to find her boyfriend is having relations with two women. One's pegging him from behind. It's like a whole thing. And so she like leaves him and decides she's going to take this trip on her own, which when she gets to Alaska, that is where she meets Maddox. He has the property. It has a cabin on it. And then like his cabin's back behind it. And he rents this cabin out like an Airbnb, but he's a little crazy. He is a fugitive, and he's been stalking her, like internet stalking her, ever since he saw her application come through to rent the place. And he dons a few masks, and he will kill anybody, and he chases her through the woods. I mean, literally, that is the story. I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed some of it. It is a novella. There is audio for it. It was just an excuse for smut and being chased through the woods. It just happens over Christmas, so then they call it it's supposed to be a holiday romance. Yeah. There's another one. I'll give it a chance by this author, but I don't know. Just, ugh. Yeah. Next.
All right. So my next one is called The Wedding Debt by Clarissa Wilde. And this is like the prequel to The Marriage Debt. So we have Jill and her sister who are raised like in the mafia world, and they know that they're going to be told they have to marry someone and all of that. And then we have Luca and Liam who are in a different family. Their families are very close, so they've spent a lot of time together growing up. And Jill absolutely like cannot stand Luca. Luca is super mean to her, and she just does not like him. And he's been mean to her since they were little kids. And then she finds out that instead of Jill marrying Liam, Luca's older brother, she finds out that she is supposed to marry Luca. And she is not happy at all. And everything spirals out of control at that point, which is going to lead us up to the next book, which I cannot wait to read. So this was a 5-star read for me.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the next book that I have is one that you and I both want to read.
Ooh.
And I listened to it this week. The audio came out for it.
Oh, I'm going to plug my ears. I don't even know what this is about, and I don't want to know. So
this is The Fucking Wrong Man by C.R. Jane. Okay, okay, but if you make that noise, they won't be able to hear. So, okay, this is about Anastasia and Camden James, or as we've seen him in the book before, he's referred to as Hero, but this is this dark hockey world that C.R. Jane wrote. This is the number 4. This is the 4th book in the series. And Anastasia is a homeless ballerina, which, Mandy, if you are actually like listening, you need to write that down. Like, a homeless heroine should be a title of a video we do in the future. Anyhow, Camden takes the little old lady who lives next door to him out on a date one night, and they go to this like showcase for dancers, and that is where he sees Anastasia. She's had an injury when she was young before she went into foster care, and it almost ruined her dance career, and it really does affect her dance career. But at this point, she's homeless. He sees her dance, and like all the other guys in this series, he becomes instantly obsessed, instantly jealous, instantly over the top and protective, and he will do anything to get her in his life. And he finagles it to where she has to become his roommate. And, it all goes from there. So good. 5 stars. Loved it. The audio was amazing. I love it. I love these guys. C.R. Jane
I can't wait.
I know. And I can't wait for the football one that's coming out too. But she has this way of writing these guys. You know that the things that they're doing are so wrong, and the books should feel so much darker than they do. But really, they just want to take care of the woman they've fallen in love with, whether the woman loves them back or not. She will eventually. And they are so set in that. Again, we have Grandma Airways in here. We have the cookies, and we have the circle of trust. It is growing. And there will be another book after this.
You've gone like way past your 1 minute.
I know, but don't you want to listen?
No, anyhow, not at all.
Okay. Next.
Moving on. I read a book that you are going to want to read. Ooh, because we have a scarred hero.
Mm-hmm.
We have stalking.
Okay. Is it going to do it? There we go. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Right up your alley.
Right up my
Okay,
alley.
and this is by an author I have never read, Ketley Allison.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, phenomenal,
Okay.
phenomenal. I can't wait to read more by her. So
Okay.
this is Black Heart. And I listened to this. Hannah Chiclana and Wesley Mercer did the narration, and it was fabulous. So good. So we have Layla. Layla works at this tech company. She recently inherited this lighthouse that her dad has had, and he passed away. She never really knew her dad. So she's living in this like new place and working at this tech company, and she overhears things that she should not be hearing and has information she should not have, which leads to somebody taking a hit out on her. Enter the Scythe, also known as Caden, and he is our scarred anti-hero probably, and he starts following her. He sets cameras up in her house, and he is after her, but he doesn't want to hurt her. He wants to get the guy that's after her. Did that make sense? I hope
Mm-hmm.
so. This was phenomenal. So they the Scythe will like often be talking, and he disguises his voice like with a voice box thing, and they do that in the narration. Oh my god, it was
Oh, good.
so good. The only downfall is this is part of a duet, and it leaves on a very intense cliffhanger, and the next one doesn't come out until January.
Oh, this is the
That's
one. Yeah. Okay.
mean. It's
Mm-hmm.
mean, but
Yeah.
I loved it. This is 5 stars. This is going to be on my top reads of the month, if not the year. It was
Okay.
just so good.
Mm.
Loved it.
I think I'll wait till January, but ooh.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was a duet,
Right.
and
I hate when
like
that
I
happens.
was listening to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen on pretty high speed, but this was on, I think it was Book Funnel. So Book Funnel doesn't actually count down your high speed. It still just tells you how many minutes, and it just goes really fast.
Yeah.
And so I'm looked, and I'm like, oh, there's like 10 minutes. How are they wrapping this up? This is going to be awfully abrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to wrap up till the next book.
That happened to me. I think it was a Natasha Knight book that I read when you and I were going to Seattle this last time for the event in Seattle. And I got, there's 2 books, and I listened to both. And then I got home, and like just before I pulled in the driveway, it ended. And it was like, the next book doesn't come out until the new year. And I'm going, I didn't even realize that I was so sad.
I got this one as an ALC.
Yeah.
And so I thought it's separate. And then at the
Yeah.
end, it says continue the story in Red Dreams. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go get it. Because usually audio comes out
After.
significantly after the book. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, Red Dreams has to be out there. No, her
No.
audio and book came out basically the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm putting it on my TBR. Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
it's fantastic. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
So this next book was a surprise drop just for Halloween, and it was so much fun. I actually read it on Halloween, and that is Barbarian's Treat by Ruby Dixon. This is a little 80-page novella about our little ice planet and introducing Halloween to the ice planet. So if you've read Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarian World, you know that they introduced Christmas, which gets called No Poison Day, early on in the series, and now we are introducing Halloween. It's been like 10 years since the girls crash landed. Like, they've all got kids. It's a thing. There's kids everywhere. So we're back in Croatoan, where the girls are at, and we have Claire, and she misses Halloween. Like, she's got all these little kids running around, and so she tries to introduce Halloween to the crazy barbarian guys who have no clue what the heck she's talking about, because again, you're on an ice planet. They don't know. And so hijinks ensue, because, try explaining certain things like making jack-o'-lanterns out of pumpkins. They don't have those. It's an ice planet. So I know this was just fun. This was fun to read on Halloween. Okay. What do you got?
Okay, my next one is a book that's so different from what I normally read, but it's Daisy Jane, so I wanted to give it a try.
Okay.
And it ended up being very different than what I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
So that is Stuck with Tuck by Daisy Jane. So we have Tuck, and his name is actually Tucker. And he goes by Tucker Deep because he's an adult film star. And then we have Vivian, and Vivian is, her parents do not support her at all. She ends up with this roommate that's just horrible to her, and she ends up having to live with her for like 3 years while she's going to this like prestigious art school. And while she's in the art school, she is getting closer to graduation, and she gets contacted to come work for this company that has partnered with what's it called, Crave and Cure Productions, which is the adult film star company, and they want her to make Tucker into a toy. And so she agrees because they offer her a lot of money to do this. And so she has to spend a lot of time with him and his stuff, making different molds, trying to achieve like everything to perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, she kind of starts to fall for him. So I rated it 4 stars. It was a lot. I was thinking, and this is just my mind probably, that she was going to fall for him and like he was going to have to make decisions, but that's not what this is. It's a very like positive spin on the whole thing. So I still really liked it. 4 stars. I was just looking for the more angsty version.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I like angsty. So
And as
still
someone
very
who
good.
doesn't, I mean, when we read books, even when I read my white shoes, I don't like the idea of the person out there doing things, even if that's okay with the heroine. So that I can see that.
It is described very specifically about like work is work and all of that. So
It would still bother me.
would not
By the
work
way,
for me.
would
Let's
work
just
for
say
me.
that.
You know what I did? I'm a complete goober. I forgot to hold up my signed version of the Pucking Wrong Man during the Pucking Wrong Man. Oh well. Okay.
That's disappointing.
It was very disappointing because he's pretty. I'll just pet him for a minute. Okay, on to my next book. So the next one is one that I have had on my Kindle, like downloaded on my Kindle for a while, and I just have not got to it. And then audio came out this last week for it, and I was like, I have to read that. And that is Silenced by Serena Ackroyd. So this is a mute hero. He is a scarred hero as well, and it is Bratha. So this is about Cassiopeia and Nikolai. So when the book starts out, as all of the books in Serena Ackroyd's worlds, they're all kind of interconnected. You can read it as a standalone, which I did, but there is mention of the boys, the Irish boys in New York, and they do play a small role in this book. If you haven't read the other ones, you haven't read the 5 Points Mafia series, and it doesn't matter, but I knew who they were. So, at the beginning of this book, the girlfriend or fiance or whatever she is, wife maybe, to the one of the 5 Points boys, gets a hold of Nikolai and says, my friend is missing. She has an abusive husband. I don't know where she is. You've got to find her. So Nikolai goes looking for this woman. He finds her shackled to a bed on the floor, drugged out of her mind and definitely abused. And he decides that he's going to keep her, and he takes her. He actually tells the guys in New York that that he put on a plane and sent her away. And that is how he and Cassiopeia start their relationship. And it just kind of goes from there. So it was so good. It was 4 stars for me. Loved it. He's mute. It's hard for him to talk. He can if he has to. She knows sign language because her dad was deaf. So he does use sign. So it was a good one.
I'm sure you loved it. What'd you rate it? You didn't
4
tell
stars.
us.
4 stars.
Keeping us on the edge of our seats.
Yep. 4 stars. So
all right.
Okay.
My next one is an ALC.
Mm-hmm.
The One I Love by Shel Sloan. I am absolutely loving the Rolling Hills series.
Yeah.
So this was narrated by Stephanie Rose and Chris Chambers. And we have Amelia, who we've seen in the other books. She's been a part of the guys' friend group since I think prior to them even being teenagers. And her and Shane have kind of had a more special relationship, have been closer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so Amelia ended up having, and we already know this, she had a teenage pregnancy, and she is now divorced. from her kids' dad. So she is 35 and she's been divorced for a while. And Shane has harbored feelings for her since they were teenagers. And we hear a little more about why he's chosen not to say anything. And they end up in a situation that kind of spirals way out of control. And they end up fake engaged, and their moms are over the moon happy about this. And then before they know it, they are planning their fake wedding. And then it gets really complicated when one of them wants to try and put the brakes on the situation to get everything, like, because it's just so out of control. I absolutely loved it. It was 5 stars.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay. All right. So the next book I read was an ARC that I got last week. And it's a new to me author as well. So this is Her Irish Wolves by Theodora Taylor. This is a why choose shifter romance. I will say this is like, this just felt different to any other shifter romance I've read. It doesn't have those corny elements. It was really, really good. So this is about Naomi. And Naomi there's other books that take place before this, but you don't have to read them. I do want to go back and read them now, though, that I've read this one. But Naomi belonged to a very religious sect of shifters in Canada. And so she's been kept in this little private bubble for a while by her prophet, even though she's done a few no-nos and gotten out and had some education of what she wasn't supposed to be. But she is in Scotland right now because there has been like a bride exchange program, and her sister is marrying this guy in Scotland. So we're at their wedding. Before this, we do see there's 3 guys who are kings of their shifter communities in Ireland. And there's been a prophecy that they will have this new reaping of women. Their numbers have gone down. There haven't been any new births. There's barely any women in their group. And so they know, because of this prophecy, that they're supposed to kidnap this woman. And so they decide, 2 of the 3 go. One of the guys decides not to. They end up kidnapping her, taking her as their captive, and things ensue from there. I gave it 4 stars. It might be more of a 4.5. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It's very complex. It's a thicker book, so it's like 500 and some odd pages. But and there's a lot in the beginning that I kind of had to wrap my mind around. But I did really like it, so it's a good one. If you like shifter books, you'll like this one.
Okay. My next book was Love You Truly by Stacey Travis. This was another ALC. This is narrated by Hannah Chiclana and Wesley Mercer. So they did Blackheart, but this one is much different than Blackheart. But I absolutely love this. So this one, sorry, my notes flipped on me here. This is part of the Buttercup Hill series, and we have Mallory. Mallory is desperate to get her ex out of her life, and he just keeps turning up like a bad penny. And her parents have really kind of encouraged it. And she is now 30, almost 33. And on her 33rd birthday, she gets to inherit her family's winery. And then she finds out that her ex has weaseled his way into this inheritance as well. And she finds herself needing to get married ASAP to get the situation, to get him out. And so this is where Dash comes in. And Dash has reasons of his own for being agreeable to this marriage of convenience. And so it starts that way. But as we all know, marriages conveniences always turn into love. And we just have 2 people who are so focused on their goals, they don't realize how perfect they actually are for one another. So again, I love this one, 5 stars. And, I think my reading week just shows like how I like to read all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I like a good sweet romance too. And man, I love fake dating. Everyone knows this, but that wine country just adds like a whole nother element to it.
Okay. All right. So speaking of reading all over the board, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I went back to the Alien series that Tor narrated. That was just the phrases that I read last week. So I read the 2nd book in that series this week. Don't ask why. So I read Radix Mate. This offered us even more phrases. It was horrible, like nubbin, and what was one of the other ones? Button was another one, and nubbin. Yeah, it was interesting. Okay, so this one is the Emperor and Thalia, and this is their story. She is a spy for her father on the human ship, and she is a part of the mates that are brought over. And she's still spying, things are still happening, and really that is a lot of what happens, because then we're just filled with two dicks and blue jizz and vibrating balls. I really don't know what happened in this book. I gave it 3 stars, maybe 3.5. I did enjoy it. It's just a lot of bottom holes and nether lips. But I know why. Like, I talked to Tor when we were there in Vegas, and I was like, oh my gosh. And he said it had something to do with the regulations on Amazon, and the authors it was a part of a group that wrote these books, and it just continued on. It just doesn't end. So, yeah. I will be reading the next book. What's your next one?
Okay, my next book is Manscaped by Vanessa Vale.
Okay.
And so this is number 5 of On a Manhunt. And this again was an ALC that I got. And it's told in dual point of view, but the narration is only done by Kylie Scott. And so she changes her voice, so it's okay. It works out fine. I prefer the dual narration though. So Daniel is accused by Melly of a pregnancy. And he is like, I did not get anybody pregnant. And he kind of freaks out about this whole thing. And from there, they discover that there's like kind of an attraction between the two of them. But she is his son's ex. And he's leaving the country soon. And so they decide to have a fling. And that's it. But then it turns into some serious feelings. So I rated this one 4 stars. I enjoyed it.
Good. Okay, so I know I said I had 6 books or 7 books. I was only going to talk about 6, but I'm going to talk about that 7th because I just realized that I'm just going to. Just makes life easier. Okay, you ready? You ready to listen to me talk? Okay. So the last book that I read this week was Blood Moon Ritual by Kate Rivenhall. This is the second book. This came out after, oh no, what is it called? Eclipse Ritual. So this is the second book in that series. This is about Temperance and Ryder. This one is Temperance has been away she was like, as a kid, they raided the village, the little compound that she's in, and they took her away. And so she's been away from the village for like 7 years or something like that. But she has an identical twin brother, and she knows that he will always come to find her. So she is always looking over her shoulder. And one day he shows up with some guys from his commune who are there to collect women to take back to use. And she gets taken. He realizes she's there, and then he takes her back to his commune. And really, that's all I'm going to leave you with, because Mandy and I did this as a reading vlog, and I don't want to give away too much, even though we will have that out, and that will be out on Wednesday. Right? Is that when we're putting it out, Wednesday or Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday.
Okay.
So that'll be out on Wednesday. So to hear what we thought about it and to read along with us, make sure that you watch that one.
Yes, and we have it broken up into chapters, so you can read, like you can watch it and pause it if you want to read it that way. We don't talk about the whole thing if you've never done one of our reading vlogs with us before.
Yep. So that's kind of fun to read along with. So
yeah.
Okay. And what's your next book?
Okay, my last book is Gameplay by Lisa Suzanne. This is number 3 in the Vegas Aces The Coach series. So in this one, I don't want to give like anything away since it's book number 3. So this is narrated by Samantha Brentmore and Aaron Shedlock. They're just knocking the narration out of the park. I love it. And in this one, we really see the impact of the rivalry between the two families is starting to come to a head. And Rivera, who we saw throughout so far, really starts to make Jolene's work life very difficult. And just when we think all of those situations are going to implode, a very different problem arises that is going to cause some havoc in the last part of the series. So I'm interested to see how our characters are going to work through all of this.
Okay.
5 stars.
Okay.
I'm really enjoying this one.
Good. Okay, so that's it. That was our reading week.
Yeah. So make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us and hit that notification button because we do often have extra videos on Wednesdays and sometimes other days as well, so you don't miss anything.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.